my name is Arano, and this is my metacognitive video essay based on the movie Even the Rain. Even the Rain follows Sebastian, a young director shooting a film in Bolivia about Columbus' arrival in the Americas in 1492, focusing on the indigenous people defended by historical figures like Bartolomé de las Casas and Antonio de Montesinos. Sebastian hires impoverished Bolivian peasants to portray the indigenous characters while his producer Costa pushes to cut costs. However, the film's historical narrative intertwines with Bolivia's 2000 social context where revolts against the privatization of water disrupts the filming. Caught between finishing the movie and recognizing the injustices faced by the Bolivian people due to globalization, Sebastian and Costa find themselves torn between their project and supporting the local struggle for justice and access to clean water. The film becomes a reflection of their moral dilemma as filmmakers and individuals, witnessing the parallels between the historical past and the present day social disruption. The Bolivian Water War of 2000 emerged as a pivotal moment in the country's history, triggered by the government's decision to privatize the water system in Cochabamba, Bolivia's third largest city. This move, influenced by international pressure and corporate interest, led to involvement of the multinational corporation Bechtel, causing water prices to skyrocket. The locals, largely compromised of impoverished communities, saw this as a direct threat to their access to fundamental resource and a violation of their rights. The social unrest and protests that ensued were not solely about water. They symbolized a larger struggle against neoliberal policies that prioritize profit over people's well-being. The water war became a powerful movement against social and environmental injustices, highlighting the exploitation of resources and the marginalization of indigenous communities by powerful entities. It ultimately led to the reversal of the privatization and became a symbol of resistance against globalization's adverse impacts on the vulnerable. Analyzing the film and with the knowledge acquired thanks to the class, I can understand the injustice happening at that time in Bolivia, how the government and private companies work hand in hand in the name of profit, no matter who was affected. It also made me think a lot about progress and and there's this scene on how the major is talking to the director, telling him the reasons why they had to privatize the water, which was a representation on how we think that progress is letting individuals see only for themselves, when in fact, progress doesn't come from the idea of individual decision making. It comes from working as a community. And in this case, and I suppose many indigenous communities do have this mindset, and working together is what essentially makes them survive this world. And the fact there's also part where like the director was holding like a double standard by fighting for the rights of the community, but not paying them fairly by being in his movie. I think it's a representation on how people in power maintain those values and will see only for themselves. I like to highlight how the movie does this parallel between the times of the conquest led by the Spanish and how history was repeating itself with the directors of the movie, which make everyone involved responsible and just represent how systems of power work and still are working just from different perspectives. And well, my learnings from this and the class as a whole, I like to say that I study design, but I do have a passion for climate change and nature as a whole. So coming into this class was shocking because it made me realize all the damage that the human has done and keeps doing, especially to indigenous communities, from the extraction from their resources to their homeland. It's just very eye-opening. Also, the biggest learning that I take is discovering that sustainable development isn't a solution to any of these problems, and how economic growth is always involved in all these initiatives that feel like a step towards the right direction that will lead us to change, but it just leads us to the same problems. So as a designer, I always tend to find problems. But with the learnings in this class, I have felt guilty with the topics discussed and how I have seen nature as a means to an end. I have seen it as raw material or something to be transformed for consumption, instead of seeing it as a subject of rights or an entity that deserves to be preserved. But furthermore, my concern for nature is the relationship between people and the environment, how the degradation of one affects the other, and how people empower, damage, and destroy for this reason. Um, so I do believe, with all this knowledge, to be valuable, and I do see myself still trying to find a solution for climate risk or change. Through design, I do see myself still doing that, but I guess not in the conventional way that I have been taught. I don't see it anymore as a as a product that's going to solve everything, and at the end of the day, that it's consumption is what it leads it to. So the class has opened my eyes for that reason, and it has taught me alternatives. I think I have always had that dilemma of thinking that there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, and that therefore I cannot do much. But I do think I have seen my role, or I have to start thinking what's my role besides or far from a capitalist society, and what's my role in different types of communities where capital, profit, products are not valuable, and that's not the priority. So it's very inspiring at the end of the day, but it's also hard to realize your systems of belief to not be as you think you were. But I do take the challenge to reimagine myself, at least in my career, how a designer can, or what's the role of a designer in a society where products are not valuable or are not the end, or profit is not the end of the reward of for making something, which is at the end of the day what I do. Thank you very much.